Hi there, Tyrone here. I'm here again to talk to you a little bit this time about our Ntemwa-Busanga Camp up on the Busanga Plains in the Kafue National Park. This is the third video in a short series which aims to give you, the prospective guest and or sort of tour operator, an insight into what to expect on safari with us here and how best to put together the best possible itinerary. If you're after more general information on Zambia, park locations, logistics, etc., then do go back and watch the first video in the series. And if you're after more specific information on our Musakesi camp, then do go and check out the previous or the second video in the series. The Busanga Plains is one of the better known regions of the Kafue, for good reason. It's spectacular and very unique, which is why a stay here in combination with other areas of the Kafue makes for a really great trip. It's basically like visiting several different national parks, but all within one. The location of our camp specifically, in the southern part of the plains, is purposeful. It allows us to maintain the remote safari experience that the Kafue is all about and that we strive for at J&M Safaris, but without negating on the wildlife sightings and experience. A few more northerly camps are in a relatively small cluster, and with the Wilderness Safaris properties, for example, still about 25 kilometers north of us. They're situated nearer the larger lechwe herds in the swampier areas of Busanga. Ourselves here at Ntemwa-Busanga are situated in the more southernly dry, your more atypical plains settings with wildebeest, zebra, etc. And as you can see from this image, large herds of buffalo. Here you can make out the main area, and dotted along the edge of this magnificent woodland lies the guest rooms, well spaced, and from 2021 onwards, we have just 4 thatched chalets. Though importantly, we will only take a maximum of 6 people at one time, so it's a really exclusive and small camp. In fact, I think it may even be the smallest in the Kafue. So whilst we have the 4 rooms, this is only to ensure that we're open and able to take more single packs. And as such, it's worth noting that if a private group did have 8 packs sharing, so for example, the 4 rooms had 2 people in each, then we can cater for this, but only if they are in a single group booking. Otherwise, if the camp is made up of 1s and 2s, we would only ever take 6 packs maximum. Here is a less attractive, but equally helpful small diagram of the camp layout and the room numbers. It might be useful information for you to choose which room is your favorite or rebook a room that you enjoyed staying in previously. Again, it's important to note that for 2021, the guest rooms have been completely renovated. As such, the locations are exactly the same as outlined here, but the layout and designs, etc., of the rooms will have changed. Let us start with images of the main communal area, which are basically in 2 parts. A small elevated deck which overlooks the plains of Busanga, as you can see here. And this is where the bar and central charging station can be found. This is 24 hours a day, the power, and solar powered, but we do also have a generator for backup in case for maybe excessively cloudy days or something like that. And here, a shady and comfortable lower main area. It's a very cool location, especially temperature-wise. At Ntemwa, there is no guest Wi-Fi, and the camp is not in an area with cell signal. As such, it's the ideal place for the guests to switch off completely and enjoy just being immersed in the bush. There's no swimming pool here either. This is a classic rustic Zambian bush camp. Think more along the lines of a classic Luangwa bush camp, such as Mwaleshi, for example, which, whilst hugely comfortable, is one where we pride ourselves on the wildlife experience and getting under the skin of the park with expert guiding and fantastic wildlife to boot. The majority of meals are catered for around the campfire, open air, breakfasts and dinners anyway, with lunches generally taken on the top deck, overlooking the plain. For the past 3 seasons, we've had tented rooms for our guests. The image here shows how they looked and the aspect of them within the shade of the trees. For this 2020 season, we had planned to change the guest rooms from tents, as you see here, to thatched chalets. Unfortunately, due to COVID, these plans have been put on hold, and it's our intention to build these thatched rooms for the 2021 season ahead. So do please stay tuned for images of those when they're built. The open-air ensuite bathrooms, complete with flushing loos, bucket showers, etc., will be unchanged, and here is an image of those. The quality of guiding at J&M Safaris is very important to us, and both myself, Tyrone and Phil still guide actively and are part of a larger guiding team. All fully qualified and highly experienced guides, especially up here on the Busanga Plains. Guiding at Ntemwa is on a rotational basis amongst our guiding team. However, if you would like to ensure a private guide or private activities, then this is also absolutely fine. We have a dedicated private group game viewer. And so this is yours to use, but of course this needs to be booked in advance and is of course subject to availability. The camp is ideal for photographic groups, especially because of the size of it. You can have the camp completely dedicated to your specific interests, and things such as really early breakfasts or all-day drives, packed lunches, etc., are all very doable out of this camp. Further to this, the camp has a simple guides or pilots or tour leaders tent back of house, and it was a conscious decision of ours to be wholly welcoming to private guides and hosted groups. We do not charge accompanying guides and tour leaders for their stay, only their extras, their park fees and transfers, etc. So activities at Ntemwa-Busanga gravitate around vehicle-based game viewing. If you're more into walking, then Busanga is really not for you. Musikesi, our other camp, is absolutely far better suited than Busanga is to walking orientated safaris. The Busanga area is large, 720 square kilometers. It's also surprisingly varied. And as such, to see what the area has to offer in, say, a 3 or 4 night stay, which would be a minimum suggested stay, then the vehicle is needed to get you to all corners and see the various wildlife specials that are on offer, from the large herds of lechwe and papyrus swamps to searching the tree-line edges of the plains for large herds of sable, for example, sometimes over 50 strong, as you can see here in this image. The past few seasons, we've invested heavily in high-quality game viewing vehicles, which are very important on the plains, and we are very confident that they offer the ideal platform to safari from, especially ideal for wildlife photographers. We also have side and low mounted bean bags available too, from which this wild dog image was taken. So as I said just now, Busanga is not really the ideal place for purely walking focused safaris. We get this question a lot. As a destination, it's an absolute must-see, which is why in combination with Musikesi, it makes for a perfect and really varied safari, where you would maybe focus more on the walking and the river at Musikesi, and then using the vehicle for more vehicle-based sort of explorations on the Busanga. Walking specifically on Busanga, the underfoot terrain of the plains is hugely uneven. It's not a flat plain. Remember, it's actually a floodplain, and for the majority of the year, it's submerged. So when the earth begins to dry and crack, with the hippo footprints and the hardening worm casts, make for some really very challenging terrain. And not to mention being an open plain largely, approaching game on it is very tough. There's not too much to hide and stalk behind. But this isn't to say we never get out of the car. As you can see here from this image at sunset, under guidance from your guide, we enjoy the final rays of light and stretch our legs to get that perfect photo. And of course, the wildlife, which is the most important thing, is exceptional. There's a large volume and variety of species found here on the Busanga. And there's lots of unusual species too, such as roan, sable, red lechwe, as you can see here, oribi, the list goes on. And of course, the predators are there too. And the Busanga Plains specifically are famed for lions. And they have a somewhat aquatic lifestyle, hunting often the lechwe. And as you can see from this handsome boy here, they're some of the largest and large, big black maned lions there are in Africa. And the birding too. Busanga is an absolute birder's paradise, with species as plentiful as they are rare, from wattled and crown cranes to rosy-throated longclaws and everything in between. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I hope that helps a little bit. A few things I didn't point out that might be useful. Getting to and from the Busanga Plains. There is an airstrip called the Busanga airstrip, and that's serviceable by any of the charter companies here in Zambia. There are no scheduled flights into the Busanga, as there are not to any of the airstrips in the Kafue, but we have a very flexible seat rate available through SkyTrails. So getting up to the Busanga Plains, you're looking at about $450 a person return, and those are at times to suit. So actually, it's ideal. It's too far to reach Busanga by vehicle from Lusaka in one day, and so if your guests are insistent on driving into the Kafue, which is possible in some of the closer, more central parts of the park, but not Busanga Plains, then they'd have to spend a night or two either side of their Busanga itinerary at a more centrally located camp, such as Musakesi, for example. And that brings me on to my suggestion for an itinerary for the northern Kafue, which would be to combine Ntemwa-Busanga Camp that we've just been speaking about and Musakesi Camp in a sort of 7 or 8 night itinerary. It's a perfect, ideal way to see a good chunk of the northern part of the park. Of course, there's a hell of a lot more to see, but if time's a limiting factor, then that's a good little itinerary. I will, in the next video, be touching on the Lua Plains National Park and the mobile safaris that we conduct up there.